Alright folks, here we are back with the Winchester Super X3. This little guy. Again, these instructions will pretty much apply to SX2s, SX3s, and I believe SX4s. I haven't been inside of one of those yet. They're relatively new. Your FNS, was it SLP, and then the Browning Gold and the Browning Silver both pretty much break down and go back together like this. So let's see, we'll start with our fire control group, put this back together. Try and pull this cam back a little bit so you can see what I'm doing most of the time here. That'll work. Alright, kind of went, we're going to go, this is the detent for the safety. Safety detent will go back in there. We'll run our safety. This you can swap this back and forth. So if you wanted to make it a left-hand safety, you can do that. It's no big deal. That detent will go on the other side of this along with its spring. So it's a somewhat ambidextrous gun here for left-handed shooters. Oh shit! Pins and everything going every which way. There. Put our spring in here. Uh-oh. Come on, guy. Our detent popped out on me. There we go. And just squeeze her on back in there and set her down. She should get positive clickies now. Right on. Let's see what needs to go in next. Let's see, we're going to go with our sear. This guy here, it's going to go in and it's going to sit in like this. But you have to put it into, I don't know if you can see this galley inside of the trigger guard. But you need to put it in there. Okay. Like so. And it will slide down. It'll come back at an angle this way. That spring sits inside of those little guides inside of this trigger group. And you got to get it aligned up here so that it will line up with its hole. Oh, I pushed it too far forward. There we go. A pin, get it in there. There we go. Boop. All right. It's your shear, and I'm going to take our let's see, now our trigger and the disconnector. We'll put that guy back together real quick. Like I said, the pins on that want to come out, which is this guy here. So that's how that should look. I'm going to set that aside for the moment. And then we've got to put our hammer and its strut back in. Like so. Use top hole. Big fat pin goes in there. It helps if you line the hole up. Boink. Come on. There we go. Goes in there. Got that set up there. And you kind of have to put your trigger and pin and hammer in simultaneously, because this strut runs down between the trigger like that, and our pin's trying to fall out again. So that'll go in here like so. Oh, I missed the hole. There you go. That strut's got to slide down back into this before that'll all come down. And then we'll take our front pin here. This is what retains the hammer. It also is what the pin goes through the receiver. So the pins that hold the trigger grip into the gun right in that. Now we can put our other, same thing here. That pin is literally just for the deal to ride in and out of it. And you have to get your trigger to come back so that it sits there. And then we'll get the other pin here, put it in for the trigger, hammer forward. Looks good. I'm going to put our, this is our disconnector spring. Just going to hook it on that little nub on the trigger guard itself. And then we're just going to take it and run it over the disconnector, like so. Now I think I'm going to put our hammer spring and follower in there. Now, because this isn't under tension, this should be relatively easy. But you're going to put your pin back through there, and I'm just going to like compress that spring just a little bit. It shouldn't be that difficult because there's not that much tension on it. Once you have it there, you should be set. Now we need to put in our carrier and carrier dog. And what am I missing? I got an extra pin here. Where'd you come from? What did I put a pin in? Pin, pin. Pin, 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 pin. Dupe. Herpaderpalot? Oh, that's the pin for the mainspring there. That's why I was confused. What the hell? Losing it. So, like I was saying, that little black plastic piece with the fin on it goes in here into your carrier dog and just rotate it up there. And now we can cock the hammer back, put it on safe. That way you don't actually smack the crap out of a knuckle or something with that thing. We're going to stick our carrier back on. Use our fancy little pin there. Get her through. Put that cotter pin in there. Like so. Now, this is the rod. The spring will go on here, and then you got the little metal round thing that you can lose very, very easily. And this gets somewhat tricky. You've got to take that hole. I don't know if you can see that hole or not there, man. Rotate this so you can get there. And you've got to put the end of that little rod there into the hole. So many jokes. And then compress it so that it sits down in there like so. And that's how that spring should look. Metal being here, plastic thing there. That runs your carrier. And that's it for the trigger group. You can test it, make sure it works. Hold it down. No. So, trigger group's super, super simple in these guns. Nothing crazy. So I'm going to set that aside there. Where to next? Let's go ahead and get crap off the bench real quick. Let's see, receiver. Set that up there. Choke tube, man, that's just whatever, dude. Choke tube stuff. Put our follower down there. Our mag spring goes in. This is all pretty basic shotgun shit, man. We're going to take, in this case, the magazine limiter goes in this way. And we're just going to run this down in there. Now from here, what you want is this little plastic tab on your magazine cap there. Kind of line it up. When you stick it in ahead of time, you might have to give it a little bit of rotation. There we go. And she clips in, man. Let's see, what's the next thing here? Let's go ahead and put our operating spring back in, or action spring, whatever you want to call it. Let's slide it down in there. This is where things can get a little wonky on you. These things are pretty high pressure, and as far as they've got a lot of tension and can be difficult to manage sometimes. Let's see. Tell you what, I'm gonna grab a punch here stick it down in that valley, like so. And then I'm going to take our pin and start it in, because you've got to line that little groove up with there and get it in. That's all I'm doing, is just lining all that stuff up there, bud. Whoop. There you go. Looks good to me. Then we can put stock back on, like so. And you've got 3 pieces there to put on. You're going to have this plate, which is springy, kind of, like so. Why are you not cooperating? There we go. Alright, yeah. Got that guy in there. And it's backwards. Son of a diddly. So you can see there's like a chamfer on this plate, and that's where this round of this thing is. Somebody's got this thing on backwards at some point, but it recesses into that little plate there, or it should. And that's why, I don't know why it's giving me such a hard time to install here, but it is. Why the hell? Well, probably helps put that plate in first, and then everything will line up. If I can imagine that. Yeah, stick your plate in there first. And here's something else I failed to mention for you guys. That plate, I'm going in and I'm shitting it and then rotating it this way. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a slight bend in this plate. So when you run your nut down on there, that bend goes straight, and it's what retains tension on this. Stick it down in there. Oh, come on, bitch. There we go. And then, like I said, you take the rounded edge, goes down over your little action thing there, and then you just put your nut on. That was way more difficult than it should have been. That's a 19mm nut, in case you're wondering. My nice high-quality Pittsburgh Chinesium sockets. There. And we're gonna go and put our butt pad back on. And again, I'm using this bit is rounded, and it's kind of meant for buttstock screws like this. I like to Vaseline it up, use a little bit of lube anytime you're gonna stick it in something like that. It keeps from tearing the rubber when you're replacing these. Don't tighten it all the way down on the first one. there's a lot of people that tell you not to use drills when you're doing this, and there's some merit to that. I have found that it's never given me an issue. As long as you do it right. Wipe that little lube off and just kind of roll it into the pad. How about that? So that's all done there. Despite the difficulties with our plate there at the end, bolt just goes back on like that onto the carrier. No big deal. And this will slide in there. You want these. There's grooves there. You can see. You're gonna have to push your little dingus. Slides in. And you have to make sure that you line your little stinger tail back here up so that it goes into that action thing, the follower for the spring. Charging handle. Flip in, run there. I'm going to drop my trigger group in here. Make sure we get our holes lined up. Pins. Rubber hammer. Rubber. We're good there. Now, lock the action back. Spring. Piston extension. I think that's what they call that. Piston extension. Piston. Make sure you line up that hole there for that action. Alright, you're being so there we go. That guy comes back like that. Barrel. There we go. We got our 4-in. Slide her right on. Magazine cap. Magazine cap. And that's all she wrote, man. That's whole gun start to finish, guys. Other than screwing the choke tube all the way in, I was just gonna do that later, but I mean, it's just a choke tube. It's not rocket surgery. But yeah, good guns, man. They are quality guns. So give me a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. Got any comments, drop them down, man. See you guys later.